one, I think, runs common. It's jumping about all over the place. Which is, to me, it's only a ZR34, so what is it, 3.25 horsepower, 4 horsepower, something like that? That seems way too low for a motor that small. We've got one next to it that's working, so I might check the resistance on the windings for that just to confirm. And while we've got these disconnected, the other thing, the terminals look like they've got really hot, don't they? You can see the plastic looks like it's melted. Sometimes plastic will, no, that has melted, you can see it's melted into there. Sometimes they will go, they'll just perish and go on a bit like that. So we might give it a buzz. I've got it turned off now. We might put the brake on, give it a buzz so we can check the fans okay. The last thing we want to do is come back with the compressor and find the fans that died as well. Those resistances don't make sense. Point one, no. It'd be something, you know, it'd be like 2 or 3 ohms would make more sense. So yeah, that's another compressor gone. I've got another one to do tomorrow. I've got one that's failed, another one that's failed today. I should hopefully get 2, and then the other unit's packed up. Possibly yet another compressor. And I've got another one to go to and check later on today. Sounds like a compressor because they said the fan's running continuous. Well, the reason the fan would be on continuous is these are all on pump down, so if the compressor's not pumping, it doesn't go off on the low pressure switch. And they also said the compressor was cold, so it's either that or it's burnt the wires off somewhere. That's the other one. So this hot weather we're having is killing off a lot of compressors. Yeah. Okay. There we go. Fan's running. Yeah, you got to be careful doing that because that might have charged that capacitor up, and with the wires disconnected, you just don't know where discharging itself. So you want to be careful you don't get a zap off of that. Running these up with no wires connected, or even if there's a wire burnt off, you've got to be wary of the fact that this could charge up and not be able to discharge. Normally when the power goes off, it'll just discharge itself with the windings. The windings act like a bleed resistor. So that's something to be wary of. But yeah, the fan seems to run. So we're looking at a duct compressor, I think. It's a ZR34 R3 PFJ 522, which is going to be obsolete. This is on R22, which is on the old gas, so it's going to need new compressor, gas change, solenoid valve or rebuild kit. Last few ones I've done, I've got rebuild kits for them. Just changed all the O-rings and the solenoids. It's easier than putting a new one in there, it's cheaper. DP, so that'd be January, February, March, April, P is 96. So it's done, what's that, 28? 28? Is that 28 years? 26 years? I'm not sure. Can't work it out. 26, I think. Yeah, because it's 96, it'll be 4 years to get to 2000, 22 years, yeah, so 26 years old, 26 years and a few months. Just check this other one that was running. We've popped the start winding connection off the capacitor and gone from start to run. We've got 3.3 ohms. Start to common was 2.4, and then run to common was 1.1. But I wouldn't trust that so much because we have also got the fan motor wired in, which is also getting a live and neutral off of the same live and neutral that we're checking on the compressor. So I don't want to disturb this too much because this one's working and we need it to keep working, otherwise we won't be able to cool his milk. So we're doing minimal intrusion into the electrical system on this one. We just pop that ground wire off, which goes to the white, which is the start. Confirm, you know, so we've got a sensible looking set of readings there. Compared to 0.1, so we've doubly confirmed that one's failed. So we'll put this back together and get it running, otherwise he's going to be struggling Okay, so ZR34 K3, K3E and K1, K3. Slightly different. Anyway, basically it's 2.5 horsepower. So what I would normally do is I would pick a refrigerant ZR range. It's usually R22. Well, it is R22. So I don't know. They've got 407C. What I would probably do is go with R22, and then we'll pick, say, 30-degree ambient. This is just the compressors. We probably want condensing units, scroll condensing units. ZR range, R22, condensing temp 32 degrees, say evaporating at 0, does about 5978 watts. So we want something that's going to do about 6 kilowatts at 0, 7 kilowatts at 5, at 32 degree condensing temp. That will give us a ballpark for what compressor we can get, and we know the duty is going to match, but hopefully so I don't know if they do the ZRs. I would have to check. We're single phase, so that would be in the ZB19, which is kilowatts. Evaporating at +7, condensing 54. It's doing 7 kilowatts, so that is probably an equivalent. That one there. I'm not sure if the rotor locks would line up on it, on them ones. Then we've got ZR, ZR34. They're saying it's 3 horsepower here. Anyway, we'll have to see what we can get. This one yesterday was tripping on and off, and we got the customer to watch the condenser out. He said it's still doing it, so we started thinking it might have been a low pressure fault. Anyway, we've got full sight glass on it, checked. Such a nice, sweating back nicely. 45 psi. It's on 449A, but if it was 404 it'd be about -12, so that's about right. Head pressure condensing around 438. So I suppose 20 degrees hotter yesterday. If it was running, we're going to see where the HP switch trips out. It might be tripping out too early. If it's tripping at sort of 300 or something, that'll account for it. It might just need winding up. Yeah, that's the problem. Yeah, we've run out to 25 bar somewhere about there, so. 24, yeah, a bit more. These have these square adjusters, but I've got this little brittle key that's got 2 different square sizes on it. It's handy for doing these. It's a long way. Anyway, you get the idea. Okay, one of these is not working right. This one, well, that's starting now. Ooh. Maybe it's that other one then, because that's just pumped down. Yeah, might be the other one, so let's turn that off. Let's leave that one on, let's turn that one off. Right, we've put the tank on deep cool, so this one apparently works. So that sounds nice. Yeah, discharge pipe is getting warm. I think they're only 2 horsepower units, so they will take a while for everything to warm up. I think can't see. Looks like down there, either 2 or 2.5, I think. Yeah, that's getting nice and warm now. So that one we think is good. This one, oh, that is starting up. I reckon that's got so hot it's turned itself off. That's warming up. That's getting warm. That sounds like it's pumping. Let's turn that off. That looks okay. I'm going to get a clamp meter on there, see what the current's like. Okay, I think what we've got the suction valve shut and the LP switch is too low, it's going into a vacuum, but the compressor's not pumping very well, so I think what's happened is it's a bit tired. The LP switch is out of adjustment, or knackered. It's adjusted itself, you know. Anyway, and then it's been trying to pump down for ages, not been able to do it. The compressor gets so hot because it's running in a vacuum, it'll get really, really hot, turn itself off, and the fan will keep going. Especially I've got this valved off to here, whereas if that wasn't valved off to here, it'd be pulling a vacuum on the whole system. So I think we've either got a sticky LP switch, or is that we won't be able to adjust it. Yeah, it's just gone off. About, what's that? -5 psi sort of thing. Okay, see what the cutting is. Should be about 3 bar, 45 psi. That's 1, 2, coming up to 40. There we go, 40, that's not bad. I'll let it run for a couple of minutes to cool the motor down a bit, and then we'll try pumping it down again. Pumping it down again now, we shut the receiver valve. So it's just pretty much similar as if the solenoid is shut. Just a bit more liquid line, it's got a pump out, so we're down to 40 psi. So it's got some heat in there. I mean, it's not going to have not too much, because we can just shut that valve, but yeah, it's doing some work. It's not completely knackered. Sounds a little bit rattly like that. Oh, there's my key rattling. There we go. 30 psi. If you went off at 10, we'd probably be good. Right, setting the receiver up and it's not come up again, so I think the solenoid is shut. We put it on deep cool, which is why it's sweating back a bit, because the milk's at 2.5 degrees and it you know, there's not a lot of heat in the tank to get to you know, load it properly. Yeah. So we'll go and check that. Sometimes they time out. I think they would after half an hour, so it might have timed out. But if not, we'll just have to bleed some gas across the gauges and see what it cuts in at, and then we can pump it down again. Okay, looking at this unit, it's not running. It's the day after we had some really hot weather. That's a bit dirty. We did clean that probably a month or 2 back when it had a service. So to move that drain so we can get the door open. I'm not sure with these whether they have manual reset high pressure switches, or if we fit some overloads. So it could be either. Ooh. I don't think we've got a button, because usually on these Danfoss ones they have a little green slidey button, but we'll pop the cover off just to make sure there's not one underneath. That feels really warm, but that is probably just the crankcase heater. Ah, we have got one. Oh, that, I think that little pin is making it a auto reset because it's holding the button pushed over. So it is probably not off on that. So the other thing it could be, if it was going on and off a lot, could be the overloads, because I think we've upgraded that. They do two levels. They do a WinSys, I think. WinAJ is a WinSys, and I think that was a Silensys or something. And the Silensys are a better spec and more sound deadening and so on. Anyway, these ones don't come with overloads, but we've put some on. There we go. Five amps, 5.6, 5.7 amps we're running, which is right on the maximum. So maybe we'll check that capacitor and see if that is okay. Is the fan going round? Yes. Because that would be the fans on the fan speed control. 5.9, we're creeping up. Might have bad capacitor. 6 amps. I don't know if the compressor itself has got an amperage on there, amperage reading. Yeah, we're nearly an amp over, half an amp. Okay, that's reading 13.9. It should be a 15, so I wouldn't say that was really low enough to make the current go up. It's significantly, if that was reading sort of like 1 or 2 or 5 or something, that'll put the run current up. But maybe it's just working really hard. You can see, he said the room was at 20 plus 20. I think it should be at 10 or 14 normally. Let's put this back on. Put that back on there. Maybe we'll just watch it run for a bit. See if that current settles down. Might pay to give that condenser a wash out. Does look a bit like it's got some dirt in the middle. It's got a tap down there. Maybe we might be able to put a hose on it and wash it out. Okay, it's gone for about 5 minutes or whatever time it takes this meter to shut itself off. And the current's not down. It's 5.99. It's up to 6.5, I think, or 6.4. Do the maths. What did I say it was? No, 6.2 something. I said it was half an amp over. So lost 0.2 of an amp. The sidebars have filled up, but it's just empty again now. I think it's just working really hard. So the room is at 24 or something. This is probably a bit undercharged. It's put it in the winter. The other day it was the bellows in the pressure switch going up and down with the piston. As you get a pulse of gas out of the discharge, it was making it move, but you shouldn't get that on this because that's on a liquid receiver. It'll be fairly stable, I would think. It's coming down a bit to 593. Yeah, it's quite dirty inside. Get a brush in there or something. Maybe see if we can get a hose. Oh, that's quite bad there. Especially when it was like 40 degrees yesterday, or 38. Could have been warmer here because of the heat from this being dark green. It's like a shipping container. So look at this other one, it's even worse, look at it. Heat fur coat. That's only been in since Christmas. So what, 6 months? Something like that. Right, it's chucking it down now. I shouldn't have asked for rain the other day, I got soaked. It's obviously summertime, so I haven't got a coat. Anyway, that seems to have run. I think it's pumped down and turned off. I might sit here for a bit, see if the rain gets a bit better, and then just go and make sure those overloads haven't tripped again. But it did sort of run, turned off, was off for a little while, 30 seconds or something, and then it come back on again, run for 30-40 seconds and turned off again. So, but I didn't hear, sometimes you can hear the solenoid valve shut, but I didn't hear that. But anyway, and we've cleaned the other ones, give the other one a brush and a wash, and there's an aircon around the corner, that was dirty, but the other two seem okay. But yeah, they were only cleaned like a month or two back, so I suppose now quick they can get dusty and dirty again.